Imagine a small rural village in Iraq in the middle of the night in 2003. The air is still. The streets are quiet, and most of the villagers are asleep. Somewhere on the edge of town, a man is hiding underground in a narrow hole dug beneath the soil. The entrance is carefully concealed with dirt, debris, and a thin layer of styrofoam designed to blend into the surrounding ground. For weeks, possibly months, this place has been his entire world. Suddenly, the streetlights throughout the village shut off at once, plunging the area into darkness. Almost immediately, hundreds of U.S. soldiers begin sweeping through the town from every direction. Their movements are methodical and silent, the sound of boots and equipment breaking the stillness of the night. The village is sealed off, no one enters, no one leaves. As the troops approach a small farmhouse, one soldier notices something unusual in the dirt nearby. He begins to dig and uncovers a rope partially buried in the ground. Pulling on it reveals resistance. The rope leads downward, disappearing beneath the earth. The soldiers realize they've found something significant. Carefully, they clear away the soil and uncover a hidden trapdoor. Weapons raised, the soldiers prepare for the worst. A grenade is readied, meant to be dropped into the hole to ensure no one inside can resist. But just before the pin is pulled, everything stops. Slowly, a pair of hands rises from the darkness below. Moments later, a bearded man emerges, blinking in the light, frail and unkempt. With his hands raised high, he speaks calmly. "My name is Saddam Hussein. I'm the president of Iraq, and I want to negotiate." Ladies and gentlemen, they got him. For many people, this image of Saddam Hussein hiding in a hole is the only part of the story they remember. For others, it has become a meme, endlessly reused and repurposed online. And for those who lived through the invasion of Iraq, the memory may feel familiar but incomplete. What most people have never heard is the full story of how Saddam Hussein was actually found. The hunt for Saddam began in March of 2003 when the United States launched an invasion of Iraq. The stated goal of the operation was to disarm the country, free its people, and eliminate what American officials described as a grave global threat. The justification presented to the world was that Saddam Hussein was hiding weapons of mass destruction. There was no doubt expressed publicly. Officials spoke with absolute certainty, insisting that Saddam possessed chemical and biological weapons and was actively concealing them. These claims were used to build international support and justify military action. But after the invasion began and coalition forces moved deeper into Iraq, no such weapons were found. As time passed and search teams came up empty, doubts grew among soldiers and officials alike. A sense of unease settled in as the realization slowly emerged that the central justification for the war might be flawed. That sinking feeling would follow the conflict for years to come. Militarily, the invasion moved at remarkable speed. U.S. forces, joined by troops from the United Kingdom, Australia, and Poland, advanced rapidly toward Baghdad. Iraqi defenses collapsed far more quickly than expected. Within 3 weeks, American tanks rolled into the capital city. Baghdad fell, signaling the apparent end of Saddam Hussein's regime. Yet even as the government collapsed and Iraqi forces disbanded, the most important target of all remained missing. Saddam Hussein had vanished. In a public square in Baghdad, a massive statue of Saddam Hussein stood as a symbol of his decades-long rule. American forces gathered there alongside Iraqi civilians. To mark the moment, U.S. soldiers draped an American flag over the statue's face. Almost immediately, discomfort spread among the crowd. To many Iraqis, the image suggested not liberation, but occupation. Recognizing the symbolism, the soldiers quickly removed the American flag and replaced it with an Iraqi one. Only then was the statue pulled down, crashing to the ground as onlookers cheered. Saddam's image had fallen, but the man himself was still free. Finding Saddam Hussein became a top priority. Alongside him, dozens of senior figures from his government were also targeted. To help soldiers identify these individuals, the military produced a deck of playing cards featuring the 52 most wanted members of the former regime. Saddam Hussein was the ace of spades. His sons, Uday and Qusay, ranked just below him. The idea was simple: soldiers often played cards during downtime. By repeatedly seeing the faces of wanted men, recognition would become instinctive. Despite this effort, Saddam remained elusive. Intelligence suggested he rarely stayed in one place for long, constantly moving to avoid capture. Months passed. One by one, high-ranking officials were captured. Some surrendered peacefully. Others were found hiding or on the run. Yet none of them could lead the Americans to Saddam or his sons. Frustration grew as raid after raid yielded nothing. To encourage cooperation, the United States announced massive bounties. $15 million were offered for information leading to the capture of each of Saddam's sons. $25 million were placed on Saddam himself. While tips poured in, most were false, exaggerated, or driven purely by greed. Then, 4 months into the war, a breakthrough came. A man walked into a U.S. military base in Mosul and claimed that Uday and Saddam Hussein were hiding in his home. The claim seemed almost too good to be true. Troops moved quickly, surrounding the house the next day. Inside, they found Saddam's sons exactly where the informant had said they would be. When ordered to surrender, the brothers refused. A fierce gunfight erupted. U.S. troops pulled back and called for reinforcements. Eventually, heavy weapons were used, including a missile strike that destroyed much of the building. When soldiers entered the wreckage, both Uday and Saddam were dead. While capturing them alive would have been preferable, the operation was considered a success. The deaths marked a major blow to the remnants of Saddam's inner circle. Soon afterward, an audio recording surfaced. In it, Saddam Hussein mourned the loss of his sons. The tape confirmed that he was still alive and still in hiding. The informant who led U.S. forces to the brothers received a massive reward and was relocated. The message was clear: cooperation would be rewarded. Despite this, Saddam himself remained at large. Raids continued across Iraq, often based on weak intelligence. Innocent civilians were sometimes caught in the crossfire. The search grew more desperate, and public support for the war continued to decline. With few solid leads, the focus shifted again. Instead of hunting political figures tied to the old regime, attention turned toward those who had protected Saddam personally. One man, Staff Sergeant Eric Maddox, believed the key to finding Saddam lay with his bodyguards. Saddam's security was structured in layers. The outermost guards protected fixed locations like palaces. A second layer scouted locations ahead of Saddam's movements. The innermost group, known as the Hamaya, stayed with him at all times. Maddox believed these men were the only ones who truly knew where Saddam was. This belief led Maddox to Tikrit, Saddam's hometown. While Saddam himself was believed to be elsewhere, Tikrit remained a stronghold of families loyal to him. Many of his elite bodyguards came from one extended family in particular. During interrogations, one name kept appearing: Mohammed Ibrahim Omar al-Maslit. He was a trusted member of Saddam's inner circle and appeared to be coordinating resistance efforts against coalition forces. If anyone knew where Saddam was, it would be him. Maddox worked methodically, interrogating relatives and associates. Slowly, a network began to emerge. One lead led to another. Eventually, Maddox learned about Muhammad's son, who mentioned that his father enjoyed fishing at a private pond near Samarra. At first, this seemed trivial, but Maddox remembered something important. Saddam Hussein loved masgouf, a traditional Iraqi fish dish. If Muhammad was still fishing regularly, he might be supplying Saddam. A raid on the fish farm didn't reveal Muhammad, but it led to another clue: an associate with a house in Baghdad. Acting on instinct and limited intelligence, U.S. forces raided the apartment. Inside, they found Mohammed Ibrahim himself. Under interrogation, Muhammad initially resisted, but when offered protection for his family, he agreed to cooperate. He revealed that Saddam was hiding in the small farming village of Ad-Dor. Troops moved quickly, searching farmhouses near the Tigris River. One location after another turned up nothing. Just as the operation was about to be abandoned, Muhammad pointed to a small, unimpressive shack nearby. Outside it, he kicked at the ground, revealing a partially buried rope. The soldiers understood immediately. Beneath the shack was a hidden bunker. They opened it, and Saddam Hussein emerged from the darkness. The capture of Saddam did not end the Iraq War. There was no clear plan for what came next. Violence continued, and instability plagued the country for years. But the image of Saddam hiding underground became one of the defining symbols of the war. The U.S. military ensured the world saw that image. Journalists were brought to the site. Photos and videos of Saddam's capture were widely distributed. His medical examination was filmed and released. The once feared dictator was shown as weak, defeated, and powerless. For decades, Saddam had ruled through fear and propaganda, cultivating a cult of personality. His capture shattered that image. but the way his downfall was presented was also carefully controlled. It was a reminder that wars are fought not only with weapons, but with narratives. This story is not just about finding Saddam Hussein. It is about how power, perception, and storytelling shape history, and how one image can come to define an entire era.